Okay, hello everyone. It's Carol Scott with the National Ombudsman Resource Center. Today is November the 4th, 2020, and this is the third of a series of 4 orientations for new state ombudsman. I put into the chat, and I will put it in a couple more times, the Survey Monkey. If you at the end of this would just take 2 minutes, okay, 4 minutes, and complete that, whether you are a mentor or a new state ombudsman, I would appreciate that. We use the results of those surveys to kind of point us in the right direction. So we're going to start. We have 2 speakers today. Rosa Walton is the Louisiana State Ombudsman, just entering her 3rd year. And she's going to talk about kind of how she survived that first year. And then following Rosa will be Robin Grant, who is the head of policy for Consumer Voice. And she's going to talk to us. Let me think, what would the subject be? Policy and systems advocacy. And then following Robin, we'll have some time with mentors. It's an opportunity for you guys to ask absolutely any question you want. It doesn't have to be related to what Rosa and Robin said. It can be anything that just, so it'll just be as busy or as quiet as you want that time to be. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rosa, and Rosa, feel free to share your screen and take it away. And you are muted, so don't talk.
Got it. All right, let's see. Let me start this. Oh, goodness gracious. Technology is not always my friend. Let's see.
It's never my friend.
Like I finally get something going.
I feel your pain, let me tell you.
Okay. Where did y'all go?
You bring it up and you just tell me when to move it.
Oh wait, no, here we go. Hold on. Let's see.
Okay.
Well, now I lost y'all somehow. Oh, here y'all are. Oh my goodness gracious. All right. Now y'all can see that, right?
You're good.
Okay. Whew. All right. I am Rosa Walton. I'm the state ombudsman in Louisiana. And like Carol just said, I just made 3 years here. So I'm just going to briefly state how I survived the first year and the first couple years. And that's about the best way to describe it. A lot of, not during work hours, of course, but afterwards. And of course, when I started, I had a 1-year-old daughter at home too. So yeah, booze was my friend. So, but moving on, just to give a little background about Louisiana's, how we're kind of structured. We're under the State Unit on Aging. And it's me as the state ombudsman, and I do have kind of a part-time assistant who helps me with putting in information like when we get involuntary discharge information and things like that, and just paperwork related. And we also contract out with a ombudsman legal assistance provider. So when residents do want assistance with their involuntary discharges, we can offer assistance to them very quickly. So I've always appreciated that we have that. I know only about 8 states do. And then we contract out with area agencies on aging and councils on aging, 5 of them. We had 7, but 2 of them we just combined. So now there's only 5 contractors and 7 regions. And then total, we have 18 ombudsmen. So each region has a ombudsman coordinator. And then currently we have about 6 ombudsman volunteers. And just so I think you'll find out quickly, if you don't know already, that NORC is going to be your best friend. I know it is my new best friend, and I am constantly going on their website to find out more information. My rule of thumb is I go to their website. If I can't find what I'm looking for in 15 minutes, I'm emailing Carol. If I think it's necessary, I'll CC Amity or Katie, Amity being the director. And of course, everybody knows Carol. She's the ombudsman specialist. And then Katie helps as well. So everybody's super friendly. If you email somebody and they know it needs to be switched over to somebody else, they'll do that. Everybody's super friendly. So that's my rule of thumb, is just I always go to NORC's website. That's the first thing I always do when I need information. And they have their app. So I've told all my locals to download their app too. There's just so much helpful information. So that will be your new best friend if it's not already. And just some other friends, whenever I'm sure y'all have all been assigned your mentor, and my mentor is Margaret Baraha in Pennsylvania. So in September 2018, I was able to go and visit her and see how her program is done. She is quite different from Louisiana. She has hundreds, if not thousands, of volunteers and just a bigger organization. So she has it a little bit nicer than me here, but we move on. I always contact her too if I need some guidance or some clarification on something. Me and her are really close. So if you have the opportunity to go visit your mentor, I suggest just doing that. Probably won't happen right now with COVID and everything, but if you are eventually, I definitely suggest doing that. And then with NASOP, and I've seen a lot of y'all, so I know y'all are on the weekly calls. They're just extremely helpful, and it's nice to just get feedback, see what other states are doing. Don't reinvent the wheel. I have such a small, it's just me for the most part here. So if I can take what other states are doing, their best practices, that's what I do. I really don't try to start anything from scratch unless it's absolutely necessary. So next is just your local and volunteer ombudsman, if you have them, if you have the volunteers. I only have a few, but we're trying to up it little by little. But just talk to them, see what's going on. I don't know what it's like in your states, but here I have some ombudsmen that are older than I am. So they've been with the program for a very long time. They have that wealth of knowledge, and try to get them to recruit volunteers so they can spread that knowledge on, so we can keep going and, you know, see if there was something beneficial that maybe happened a long time ago that maybe fell off, and that you can start up again and enlist their help anytime that you can. So, and then on the right of the screen, it's just some other websites to go to that are also other good friends to have. So always go check it out if you kind of need further guidance on whatever you're looking for. And just, you know, a little bit of light reading is Older Americans Act. That's so fun to read. Federal regulations, I always tend to go to the transfer discharge and plenty of other common issues that you might run into. And then what you really need is your state regulations and know what's going on in your state, the administrative code, and then your own state training materials. You might go by NORC, or someone might have created them a long time ago. Look over them, see if stuff needs to be updated, see if you can create modules or even put things online and just fully see what needs to be updated. Mine were very old and I'm still in the process. It just takes so much time, but little by little we're updating materials and seeing what we can do to just make everything a little more accessible and easier.
With that, I assume when you say state regulations, you're not just talking about whatever is in regulations regarding the ombudsman program, but you're talking about nursing home and assisted living regulations also?
Yeah.
Or were you you thinking just?
I mean,
No.
I was just thinking that because I couldn't think of everything, but I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, all the regulations that you can think of that you could possibly get your hands on. Yes, that's a good thing to point out, Carol. Yes, all assisted living and nursing home regulations as well. And so with this slide, it's one of those kind of do as I say, not as I do. I definitely didn't reach out to some of these people early on, and I wish I had. And this is not an exhaustive list. There's definitely anybody you can think of to reach out to, just do it early and have those connections, because I'm trying to get the process of having a regular surveyor ombudsman call, and that it hasn't quite happened yet, but we are working on it. So just try to do those things early so they're kind of already set in place, so you can keep going and you already have that foundation laid out. So this is, again, this is not an exhaustive list. And if you were on the last call, we were talking about CMS. My region 6, I think, we couldn't remember last time. We don't have regular calls with CMS, but I really would like them. So that's another thing on my list to start getting. But in any of these, it's just good to have a connection with those agencies. So if something's happening with a resident, you have a contact person there. So that's always good to have. And then just get organized. Look through your predecessors' files and forms and see, again, what can be updated. Go through, again, in my office is another do as I say, not as I do. There's so many old forms and files around me, but little by little, I am going through them and create your resource guide. Have it to where you have it in one, great place. And if you already do, that's really great. I did not have that. I kind of started from scratch. So that, as well as I created for myself a state long-term care manual, but basically a desk reference manual, some might call it. But anything and everything that I do, I try to have it in one big manual so I can go back to it, because sometimes you only do things once a year and you kind of forget. So it's always good to have a place where you have that written down where you can go back. And with the resource manual, there's so many acronyms in every job, but it's just good to have all that in one place too, so you just have one place to go look at it. But so lastly, just a few tips. I don't know if everybody's actually allowed to do it or not, but I created a state ombudsman Gmail account, and through Gmail you can make Google forms and things, and this was really helpful. I just did a Residents' Rights Month activity, and I was able to make this survey that I could send to administrators, and it was very helpful to have that. So that's just something I would recommend if you are able to do. And then a lot of times, even still 3 years in, I still a lot of times just don't know. I have to research. If somebody calls me and I'm not sure the answer, I'll say, let me get back to you. I will research this and find out, and just know that that's okay to do. And we're all just trying to figure this out as we go. But we're all in this together. We're all trying to benefit and help the residents. So we're all in this together. Don't feel bad reaching out to a different state ombudsman. I reach out to Patty in Texas all the time. And other state ombudsman, but Patty's just my neighbor. So I tend to contact her a lot, but you just got to reach out. And this is probably the nicest group of people that, I think I've ever worked with. So just know that we're all in it together, and reach out when you can. And then this is my contact information if anybody needs it. So, and now if anybody has any questions.
Oops. They're all falling over themselves to find their unmute button.
I have a question. Rosa, in your first year, what do you think was the biggest surprise you had? Something that you just didn't think about or expect that you encounter in the program?
Oh God. I feel like I didn't realize how political this job is, and how it's just a lot of you have to really work with and kind of hope that you're on the same team on a lot of issues, and you might not be. So that's still an issue I'm dealing with 3 years in. But so yeah, I wish I had kind of started a better relationship with them. Granted, I don't know how much that truly would have changed anything, but I just didn't realize how political it came. That's not my favorite. That's not my favorite part.
Lynn, did you have a question?
I just want to say, I think it's a really good idea about your desk reference, the manual that you put together. I'm at 18 months and I'm still struggling with that. I didn't do it at first, so I'm still putting that together, but that is a wonderful idea.
Well, and I will say it's a living document. So
Right.
anytime it constantly is being updated, and you have to, even if I probably need to start like even just quarterly making sure I look at it, just because you forget, or like even I have my Zoom account information. It's like, oh, do I have that updated? Do I have my
Right.
And then recently my email changed, so it's like, oh, did I update that? Did I put that? Do I have all my new contact people for my my reporting system and things? So it's just like anything you can think of, because you forget if you don't have to look at something for 9 months down the road.
Right.
So yeah, that's helpful. And another thing I was going to say was try to work on your federal report as early as you can, because that was something I was doing, and of course with all the changes and stuff. So and I have a state reporting system. I don't have Ombuds Manager or whatever it's called. So that is another ordeal upon itself. But just try to start early so you can kind of get all the kinks out and figure it out.
Thank you, Rosa.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, I think, Rosa, you're going to have to head out at some point, right? Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go now.
Okay.
I don't have any more questions.
Yeah. She's going to go to that first slide and pop the top. Oh, no. Sorry. So anyway, hey, thank you. This is, I think it's good for people to hear, what their struggles were, what you wish you'd done different, what you kind of figured out. There is no one path to get to success. And I think Joe would say that after even 100 years of being the state ombudsman, there doesn't, a week or two doesn't go by when there's something else he needs to learn or find out about. So you will never get to the point where you don't say, let me check on that, I'll get back with you. So you just have to be comfortable with that answer, like Rosa said. So thank you so much. So now we're going to switch topics and go to Robin Grant, and I will bring up your
No, it went away.
I don't know why that happened.
Looks like you have it. We good?
Yep.
I'm not as coordinated as Rosa, so Carol's going to move my slides for me. So I think most of you, if not everybody, knows me, but just in case, as Carol said, I'm Robin Grant, and I'm the Director of Public Policy and Advocacy at Consumer Voice. And I am just really delighted to have the opportunity to talk with you all today. I want to thank you too for taking on this work. It is what I think what they used to say in Texas, the toughest job you'll ever love. It is, I know, a very hard job, but it also has a lot of rewards. And I do speak from firsthand experience, although it was a lifetime ago, as Lynn knows, because I was the Indiana State Ombudsman for 8 years. And I definitely know that it's a tough job, but I also know that it's extremely gratifying and extremely meaningful. So I just want to give you all a big thank you for taking on this work, because it is no easy task. What I wanted to do today is just give you hopefully a better understanding of the public policy work that Consumer Voice does, tell you a little bit about the issues we're working on, at least right now, how we go about doing our work, and then talk about how we can partner, basically, how your systems advocacy work and our public policy advocacy really dovetail. And when I think, are partners, we can both help each other to help residents. So next slide, please. So this is an invitation to all of you to partner with us, because, and I'm going to go back to the last slide that Rosa had, which I think you'll see is kind of a theme for today, but we are all in this together and we are stronger together. So I want to invite you as State Ombudsman to join with us and partner with us at Consumer Voice in the policy work that we are all doing. So let's just start by looking at some of the policy issues that we are focusing on right now. And Consumer Voice, just like all of you, it's all COVID all the time, or at least almost always all the time. Since March, this has just been almost all that we have been doing. And what I've laid out here are some of the issues that right now are kind of front and center. I have to say that many of them have been front and center the entire time. But obviously, unfortunately, here in our 8th month of fighting COVID, having adequate PPE in nursing facilities is still an issue. Survey enforcement is a real concern. You all know that the survey activities were suspended. We have been advocating and will continue to do so for CMS to direct state survey agencies to resume all survey activities. There have been closed doors in nursing homes for too long. You all have been locked out, families have been locked out, and the surveyors have only been in there infrequently, to say the least, and the consequences have been, I think, catastrophic in many ways. I'll say a little more about that, but we feel that it is absolutely essential that surveyors resume their regular routine activities and are back in doing those complaint investigations and those annual surveys. Visitation, I know, is a huge issue for everybody. We're continuing to advocate for families to be able to get back in, and right now, for at least the revised CMS guidance, to be implemented across the country and enforced. Staffing has always been an issue even before COVID. Right now, our particular concern is supporting the staff that are providing care right now. And so That means things like advocating for them to get, it's called different things, hazard pay or premium pay for the work that they're doing, for them to be given paid medical and sick leave and family leave, which they don't currently have for the most part, free childcare. So trying to shore up the folks that are providing that hands-on care so that facilities can hang on to them, and so that they're not feeling like they're afraid to go to work because there isn't enough PPE, or they're worried about their families getting COVID again because there's a PPE, or feeling like they have to go into work because they can't miss a paycheck, and because there isn't paid leave. So continuing to do that. We are a big issue since really the beginning of the pandemic, I should say, is opposing immunity from legal action. We've seen many states across the country pass legislation to basically give nursing homes immunity from any legal action for poor care or neglect, even if it has nothing to do with COVID. And there's certainly major legislation out there at the federal level that we've been working on. And lastly, what is coming, rising up to the surface is the need to address neglect. I talked about, sort of conditions becoming almost catastrophic behind closed doors. We are hearing from many of you, we are hearing from families just about horrific conditions. I mean, residents who are not getting the help they need to be fed, who are dehydrated, who's, haven't been bathed literally for months, who have pressure ulcers, and it goes on and on. So we are really concerned that there is neglect going on, and we're working right now to figure out kind of the best way to try to get at that. So that's our COVID agenda, if you will. Next slide. But believe it or not, before all that, we actually had a whole agenda, and I looked at this. This is what we were saying was our public policy agenda in February of this year, February 12th. I was talking about this. It was in a PowerPoint, and I looked back at that and I went, "Oh my God, that just seems like a world away, a whole world away." So I just wanted you to know, to give you a sense of some of the issues that in a non-COVID world that we're focusing on. And to some extent, this work continues, not to the level that we would like it to be, but these are all very important issues to consumer voice. Obviously staffing, and in this case, I mean establishing like minimum staffing standards. So you have like a staff to resident ratio. Banning pre-dispute arbitration, which is an issue that we've been fighting for a long time, made some progress and then lost it. Background checks. This has come out of our work around abuse and neglect, and we've really identified a need for a national comprehensive federal requirement for background checks, because right now it's just state by state. So there is no federal requirement for this kind of background check. And if you just do a state check, that you don't capture somebody who may have been, who may be on a interstate registry in another state, or may have been convicted of a crime in another state and has crossed the border into your state and now is providing care. We have been concerned for a long time about the misuse of antipsychotic medications. And while that is a complex issue and there is no one answer to that, one part of that is making sure that these drugs are not given to a resident without written informed consent. Because to this day, we hear about family members who tell us that they've got, they've seen their loved one or gone into the facility before COVID and seen their, the resident is just completely unresponsive. And when they ask what's happening, what's going on, they're told that the resident's been given an antipsychotic. I'm sure this next one is near and dear to your heart, but we have been advocating in any way that we can for increased funding for the Ombudsman program. The connection between consumer voice and the Ombudsman program goes way back, basically to the time when the program was formed. So there's a very tight and close relationship. And so it is one of sort of our pillars and our foundations to support in any way we can the work that you all do, because it's so important. And lastly, emergency preparedness. This started originally after Hurricane Irma and the deaths. I'm sure Michael can relate to this, but all the deaths that happened at Hollywood Hill in Florida. Now we add COVID to this, because preparing for what they're calling emerging infectious diseases is part and parcel of emergency preparedness. So we're working on legislation to try to strengthen the requirements for emergency preparedness in nursing homes. So that's those are some of the issues. Those are that we're working on. We touch a lot of different issues, but these are many of the ones that rise to the top. We wanted to talk a little bit. Next slide, please. So about how we do our work. Primarily, we conduct our public policy advocacy sort of in the legislative arena and in the regulatory arena. That's, there are other types of advocacy as well, but I think those are the major areas where we do our work. And so just wanted to break down for you a little bit how we do that and some of the different steps that we take. So we educate members of Congress about the issues. They are well aware of what the nursing home industry's concerns are. The nursing home industry they have so many lobbyists that they are more than able to get to every legislator there. And so we clearly are not up to their capacity, but we certainly do what we can to educate members, preferably before something comes up, so they have a foundation. We may request legislation. So in a particular issue, we may go to a member of Congress we feel is sympathetic, who has supported issues in the past that we've worked on, and maybe just ask them, will you consider sponsoring legislation on a particular issue? We often are asked to review and comment on draft legislation. So legislative offices will call us and say, we have a piece of legislation. Could you give us your thoughts? And that's before it's been introduced. And it's actually a great opportunity when it happens to be able to provide input. And then ask for support or opposition to legislation is like code for lobbying. It seems like it's become kind of a dirty word to say that, but that's basically what that is exactly what that is asking, urging a member of Congress to support a piece of legislation or as in the case of immunity, to oppose a piece of legislation. And we do that in a number of different ways, but through visits. And those have all become virtual now, which is, it's just different. And we're all kind of learning feeling our way with that. We also write letters to specific members. Very often we'll send letters to the heads of a committee, like the chair of a committee and the ranking member, sometimes to all committee members. So those are just some of the ways, or the major ways, I would say, that we lobby. Talking to the media. We have seen during COVID how incredibly important it is to talk to the media, because when a story is well put together and is well written, it can really shine a light on an issue and get attention and result in changes. I really believe that we all were advocating for transparency in what's happening in facilities in terms of number of COVID cases, number of deaths. So we had been advocating to CMS of that, but it started to get a lot of attention nationally in the newspaper about how this information was not available, and the federal government was keeping under wraps. I think it really had an impact in terms of moving that issue and leading to CMS actually requiring that facilities must report that information. So media is increasingly, I think, a way to get important attention to an issue. When we're working on an issue, we will create advocacy tools. So you'll see from us like issue briefs on a topic. We have issue briefs right now on the issue of civil immunity. We will often actually do webinars. We'll draft letters to the editor. We'll draft letters to members of Congress that people can send, so that individuals, advocates in the network who want to take action can have the tools to help them. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel and create all this stuff on your own. And then a very important way that we do this legislative advocacy is to really kind of mobilize our grassroots network. And that includes all of you. So that's state ombudsman and regional ombudsman, just basically people who are in our network, residents, family members. There are a number of state advocacy groups out there. There are a number of individual advocates as well. And so we will send out an alert and ask people to take action. Next slide, Carol. So just so you know, you can prepare yourself. This is what an action alert looks like. Kind of hard to miss what it is, since it is, in bold red letters, but that's what you'll see. We try to not send them all the time so that you don't get action alert fatigue, but we try to make it very straightforward, as short as possible, very clear about the action that we're asking you to take. In this particular slide, the part that's bolded where it says, please act now, there's several of those kinds of links in one of these alerts, and you just click on it and it takes you magically to the next slide, please. There. So this is where you would go. It's a web page, and there's some more information at the top about the issue, but then this is literally all you have to do. This is the bare minimum to send a message to a member of Congress. Just put your name, your address, your email. We have a message that's already prepared for you. We do urge people, if at all possible, to personalize it a little bit, so it's not just totally cookie cutter and they're all exactly alike. So you'll see where it says personalize your message. We ask you to add maybe something based on your own observations, your own experiences, and you as state ombudsman bring a lot to that. But I mean, that the gold standards is certainly to add to it. But if all you can do, because you're so pressed for time, is to fill your name out in your email and then click it and send it, then that's great. And I hope that at a minimum, you will all do what you can to take that opportunity, because we do try to make it as easy as possible. I swear it only takes 2 minutes to do just, the straightforward version.
Robin, are you saying that I can hit go and it will know what state or what U.S. senator to send this to?
Yeah, it's really amazing because you enter your zip code and it does. It will send it to this. You send this out, it's going to go to both your senators and your representative. So you don't have to do anything. And where it says "Dear Decision Maker" under message, that all gets changed, and the name of the senator or whatever is put in there. So it's a great system. Lately, I think we actually asked people. I can't remember what issue it is. You'd think I would. We had people sending it to their governors, to their state legislators, to their members of Congress, and SEMA Verma. I think that's like pulling out all the stops. And I think at that point we'd actually reached the capacity of who we can send emails out to. But the idea is just for it to be as easy as possible. Okay, next slide. So that's legislative advocacy, but we also, like all of you, work a lot with rules and regs, right? So we do a lot of regulatory advocacy. So this takes slightly different forms from legislative advocacy. We do, as you can imagine, a lot of work with CMS. I will say that we join with others in doing so. There's sort of a group of advocacy organizations that comes together. NASOP is part of that group. We have regular meetings with CMS. The purpose is for them to update us on things they've been working on, but also for us to bring up issues and concerns that we have. And let's just say that sometimes those meetings are not very pleasant because they can get very contentious, because you have a lot of people that care very passionately, as you can imagine, about the issues. So they can sometimes be tense. But we have meetings. We have established a relationship. And when I say we, I do mean this coalition, where we can just send an email like to Evan Schulman, who is the director of the Division of Nursing Homes at CMS, and just say, we're seeing this right now and we're really concerned about it. And that alerts him to an issue. Often he'll say, we'll look into it, we'll get back to you. And then usually we will follow up talking about it at a meeting. We have sent many letters to CMS, and when we do that, it's usually right to the administrator, who is SEMA Verma. So most recently, we, along with others, sent letters related to visitation with our recommendations. So it's not always necessarily a work about a rule, but it can also be the policies, that CMS oversees and develops as well. But there is a lot of work with rules. So when a proposed rule comes out, we'll review it, analyze it, and prepare written comments on it. CMS gives, well, usually 2 months, not always, as a public comment period. And we will prepare formal written comments. Depending on the issue, we may ask other groups to sign on with us. But one of the things that we usually work hard to do is to kind of educate and empower folks in the network, so advocates like all of you, to submit your own comments. But again, we don't just leave you out there to have to do it on your own, because we know that you are working very hard in so many issues in your state. So we do, as I said, we do the analysis, and we will write kind of like a template, a sample that you could use. You could just take it and put your name on it. That's kind of the minimum, then the easiest. But we do show you how you can insert some things into it to kind of tailor it, customize it to what you've been seeing and experiencing in your state. So you can bring your own experience to support your advocating for or against whatever is being proposed. A part of the regulatory process that I did not know existed until several years ago is the involvement of OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, which is actually part of the White House. Whenever there's a proposed rule from an agency, before it's even published, they will review it. They will also review the published version. And so we have started meeting with the staff when a rule has come out and we have concerns. So we go and have those meetings. I will tell you, they are the strangest meetings because it's all just one way. We're here to listen and to ask questions, but you can get nothing out of them. They're just like total stone face. So you just have to know that in advance and go in and just say, we are giving you information. It's hard to know sometimes if that helps or not, but we always feel like it's important to do everything we can. We've done this, for example, when the federal nursing home regulations were revised, the ones that came out in 2016. We had definitely, I think we met with them before the proposed rule came out and after the proposed rules. We also sometimes, quite often actually, will go to members of Congress and ask them to weigh in. They're not held to the public hearing comment period, so that doesn't matter at all. They can weigh in at any time that they want. And so we'll go and we'll say, here are our concerns. Could you weigh in? Write a letter to CMS. And very often, they will do that, and then they will also circulate it for signature by their colleagues. So that's when we're able to do that, that's very helpful. And then again, talk with the media, because that, as I said earlier, shines the light on issues and can get some movement. Okay, next slide, please.
So, Robin, as I'm turning the slide, you have talked about the fact that Consumer Voice sends out the action alerts. Those go out. I think you mentioned this, didn't you? That it's not just going to state ombudsman, but that local folks are encouraged to respond or to do whatever the action says. But don't you also encourage state ombudsman to send it out again to their own people or their own contacts?
Next slide, please. I'm not quite there, I guess. We'll be 2 slides down. Yes. No, well, you are spot on, Carol. Absolutely. I'll talk about that in just a second. So I'm hoping that you have a better understanding maybe of kind of some of the nuts and bolts of what we do. But part of our role is really to support all of you in the work that you're doing, and to support advocates in the field. So I want to talk about how we at Consumer Voice can help you in your state help residents. So obviously, you're going to be doing advocacy related to laws, regulations, policies. I hope you will look to us as a resource. Next slide. can help. Well, okay, before I do that, let me just tell you how you can use us as a resource. So, and of course, always turn to your other your colleagues because they have lots of suggestions and ideas. And so I don't mean to imply that you know, we have all the answers. You know, speak with your peers, but also know that we are there to help. So I want to just give you a few examples of ways that we can help support you. So let's say your state has decided it's going to, Carol, if you could just go back, just because I like the we can help you part there. I want to stress that. Let's say your state has decided, okay, it's time to revise our assisted living regulations. So you want to know, well, what states have good regs out there? How do different states compare in terms of their staffing requirements or their transfer discharge requirements? You can contact us because we can help you. We have a lot of information about what's going on in different states and can help either provide you with information or suggest individuals in advocates out there who've worked on those issues that would be really good for you to talk to. So we can help you. Let's say that a bill has been introduced in your state legislature, sorry, to cut the training of nursing assistants in half. And you are on a mission to oppose that and try to defeat that. We can help you. We can help you in you know, thinking through some of the arguments, ways that you could gather information and stories. We could help you in thinking through what a campaign might look like. We can help you in developing issue briefs. We are there to support you in that. We also, depending on when the best timing is, if you are trying to mobilize individuals in the state to contact legislators at a certain point with the message, oppose this legislation, that the action alert system that I just showed you, we can do that just for one state. And so what we can do is send out an action alert that's just for your state, just on that issue, and we can help you craft it. And it will go to all the individuals who are in the Consumer Voice Network in that state. So it's a way to help supplement and add to and enhance your own efforts. So I just want you to know that that's available. We've also been asked to submit written testimony against a bill or in support of a bill. And you know, as long as we agree, that is sort of the key. We sort of have to agree with your position you're taking on this. If we don't, and I actually can't think of a time when that's happened, but if we would just be silent. But we certainly have submitted written testimony. States have taken on staffing legislation, and we've been very vocal in that. So another type of way we can help is, let's say your governor is refusing to implement the CMS guidance on visitation and is keeping it much more restrictive. I mean, we can help in trying to put pressure on the governor to make changes if that's where you want to go. Again, we can use our system. And we also throughout this can give you suggestions for how to work with others. I know you probably work already with a number of other advocacy groups in your state, but we've really found that there are strength in numbers and can help sometimes in connecting you with other groups that we work with at the national level that have state affiliates, but maybe you don't always work with those particular groups. So again, we can help you. We also have a lot of information and resources on a wide range of issues and advocacy tools. We have a whole advocacy toolkit that's available online to help us as well. Okay, next slide. So it's a two-way street, we hope, because you also can help us in helping residents. And I just want to just point out a few ways you could do that. One is taking action on our action alerts. We try not to be too annoying with them, but when we send it because it is, we believe, a very important issue that really, and members of Congress really need to hear from you. You all are super important because you're the constituents. We're not. I can tell you they do not care that much sometimes about our opinion, but they do care about yours. So you definitely have clout. So take action on the action alert. And then, as Carol so appropriately pointed out, forward that alert. Yes, we do send out to local ombudsmen. They are part of the network. But I think getting something from all of you gets more attention. So all you have to do is hit forward and maybe just say, I really urge you to take action. Just a little note or something we found can kind of provide that extra encouragement. I would also suggest that if you work with other advocacy groups in your state that care about issues related to residents of long-term care facilities, forward it to them, like the Alzheimer's Association or other groups you work with, and ask them to take action. If you're on Facebook, you can post the alert on Facebook. You can tweet it out, all those social media things. And just lastly, you can really help us by saying yes when we make a special request for help to you in particular. So is Leah, is she still on?
She just said she needed to get off.
Okay, I don't mean to be outing her. I had no idea, but I want to give you an example with the immunity issue and opposing it. We worked with other groups to identify kind of the key members of Congress to talk to, and really try to get them on board with strong support against the bill. And one of the individuals that we identified was a member of Congress in Colorado. And so we worked, we were on the call, I was on the call, I worked with, Sam Brooks was on the call, and Leah, as a constituent, bringing all her experience about what she's, that is going on in nursing homes that's harmful to, how residents are being harmed, was on the call as well. That went really well, and it was really her, what she brought to it was really important. And so we've done that. Suzanne Messenger was when we talked to Mansions folks down in West Virginia. I can't tell you how much that adds and how much more attention that gets when a constituent, when you were on, and you're not just a constituent, you're an expert. You have experience and knowledge and expertise, and that you're speaking about what's happening to other constituents. So your role is very important. So there are specific times, and it doesn't happen that often, but that we'll ask a specific ombudsman, will you write a letter to this legislator, asking them to support this? And we work with you on it. We don't just say, go write the letter. I mean, we may even draft it and ask you to, personalize it or to, I'm sorry, I just realized I think there's a lawnmower in the background, so I'm easily distracted. I apologize for that. But we will certainly help you with it. Just as with the visits, we don't just say get on the call. I mean, we brief you and we prep you, and we talk about what points, work with you on the points to cover, and we have your back on that. We may ask you for stories from your state. If we're targeting particular members of Congress, for them to hear what's happening to residents in their state is very powerful. So those are the special requests. As I said, there are not that many of them, but next slide. Oh, I guess I had slides for this. So we can fast forward. Okay, so as Rosa did, I want to point out that we are in this together and we are stronger together. So I really hope that you'll keep in mind front and center that we're there to support you. NORC's there to support you. Your colleagues are there to support you, but we're there to support you too. We can provide information, resources, answer questions, give you guidance, make suggestions, connect you to experts and other people. So I hope that in return that you'll be there for us. We need you because we are in this together. So that's our contact information. So I'm happy to answer questions or to have a discussion or to elaborate more on anything if that's helpful.
Hi.
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Joe. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay. I was just going to add, if you aren't already, you should become a member of the Consumer Voice. That's another way that you can support them.
Thank you, Joe.
And there are opportunities here. Consumer Voice has both a governing board and a leadership council that's very active, and those are also opportunities to get connected with the national network and get involved. So don't be reluctant or hesitant. These are wonderful learning opportunities. I can tell you from past experience working with Robin on regulations or advocacy with attorneys general, you will learn so much about these issues by getting that deep dive on these topics. It's a wonderful opportunity.
And I will thank you, Joe, very much for that. And I will say Joe has been the chair of our leadership council and did a fantastic job. So we welcome your involvement.
Thank you. I thought of one more thing. Be creative too. We are partnering with Consumer Voice right now here in California on a $780,000 CMP grant project to reduce inappropriate discharge and eviction. And, it's a fantastic opportunity for us and I think for Consumer Voice because, it gives them the resources they need to do this important work and to do this training that we were planning for some time next year, I guess, with facility staff and surveyors and ombudsman representatives. And we're really hoping that we're going to be able to impact this problem here in California. And perhaps it's something that can be replicated in other states as well.
We have been working with a number of states, nothing quite as enormous as the project in California, but we are working with a number of states on specific CMP projects, and we welcome that opportunity. So thank you, Joe.
This is Heather from Wisconsin. I have to say it's the best money you will spend to have a membership of Consumer Voice. As Joe mentioned many of the few perks and just to know, when I talk to my stakeholders throughout the state of Wisconsin, whether it's a provider association or whether it's, they're looking for ideas for Resident Rights Month. Consumer Voice has just a plethora of all of these wonderful resources. And, sometimes you don't always have time to put something together and you can say, oh, let me send you to Consumer Voice, but you get discounts for bulk orders. There's just so many benefits, and the expertise, it is the best in the country, and you can't get better expertise. So I'm just have always been a huge fan and respect the work. And then the relationship that consumer has with us, a state ombudsman, I mean, they are always available. They'll drop whatever they need to drop to help and support us. So, Robin, your work is tremendous, and there's so many issues out there, and you keep us always informed, and however we can help you, we just thank you so much. I think it's just a phenomenal resource.
Consumer Voice
Joe-
also
Oh,
is really
wow.
good
Well,
about.
Heather, thank you so much. That means a lot. And it is absolutely, that two-way street slide is absolutely true. I mean, we get so much from you. And we couldn't do this work without all of you. Well, I mean that. I'm meaning it in different
Joe,
ways.
do you and Heather, do you belong as a individual with a personal check, or has your state ombudsman program paid your membership dues?
I do both
Okay.
in Ohio.
I
So
think,
we're an organizational member with our program, and then I'm just an individual member as well.
I think that's important for people to know, that that it's absolutely appropriate to use your ombudsman funding for this. And
Yeah.
this is probably a really good time to mention that if you have not done your homework and watched the video that was in the email, please do watch that. It will help you really clarify the difference between what Consumer Voice is and what the Ombudsman Resource Center is. So if you're sitting there going, I thought I was asking for this information that Robin is so willingly giving. No, because we've been offering you ombudsman resources. They're offering you advocacy and not that we can't talk about issues, but these guys are the experts on the issues. So anyway, so any other questions or comments?
I just want to end by where I started, which is thanking you again. So it was sort of thanking New State Ombudsman for taking on this work. I want to thank all of you for the work you do. Again, we can't do our work without you. You are eyes and ears out there. You're telling us what's happening. You're giving us information we can use in our advocacy, and you're carrying out the advocacy as well. So thank you.
Robin, can't thank you enough for your taking the time and such an important topic.
And I thought I wouldn't even be able to cover 30 minutes. Ha! Yet again.
Okay, well, at this point, we're gonna open it up for. Actually, I was gonna try to show you one thing here. Hang on. I want to remind you that this is a resource that is on the on the NORC website. When you're looking at the federal nursing home requirements and regulations, this document shows everywhere that the ombudsman program is mentioned. So facilities must provide the ombudsman program with immediate access to residents. And here are the sites in either the regulations or in the guidance. So all kinds of access issues, all kinds of complaint investigations, involuntary seclusion, consultation, coordination. These are all the places in the federal guidance and regulations where the state surveyors are to be talking to you, and where the source of that, where you can find this wording. Information to resident regarding rights and services, notice and disclosure to the ombudsman program. You know, the state agency grants a waiver to a facility of the requirement to provide licensed nurses on a 24-hour basis must provide notice of the waiver to the office, and that is your office. Proposal to exclude from Medicare and Medicaid programs. That information has to be shared with you. So you can see there's transfer and discharge on down. And then it even, in this document, there's bankruptcy, protection and advocacy, and these are other federal regulations that are not necessarily nursing home regulations. But if you will get on our website and you can type in there Ombudsman references and federal nursing home requirements, you will find this document. And I hope that you find it helpful. So with that, this is our Q&A time. This is when you as new ombudsman, any topic, any question, and thank you to Bev, Ohio, Heather, Wisconsin, Joe, California, for joining us. And they will be the ones that will be trying to appear that they're knowledgeable. Or we can just look at each other. That's fine.
Well, I can say that Joe offers more than just appearance. He is not.
Thank you, Mike.
All those poppy plants behind you, Joe. This.
Yeah.
This is Lynn. I've got a question. When Mark forwarded Administrator Verma's letter regarding residents and voting rights, I noticed that I hadn't seen that before, and it, Mark sent it. It was dated October 5th, but he said it was posted on the CMS website, but it hadn't been sent out to residents. And then I saw that Bev, you had responded to Mark's email that you sent it to your survey agency and maybe the provider agencies or associations, and somebody else did too. So I decided to do the same thing. And I immediately got an email from the president of the Indiana Healthcare Association, our provider association, that he would not send it to his provider members because he didn't like the way it was worded. It was accusatory and inappropriate. So
it was a CMS letter to residents. That's not his. Oh, that's frustrating.
I know. But I just wanted to let you know that I got an email like the next morning that our survey agency was going to put it in their next newsletter, and it came out last Thursday. So we actually did get it out, but I was really he says, I was amazed at his letter. He said, I cannot bring myself to continue the stereotype and misperception that is embedded in that letter.
Wow.
Did I miss something? It wasn't.
No, it was informing them of their rights. That's
all right. That's what I thought too. So I just I was really surprised to get this back. So it's good to know that other people think it's kind of odd as well. So
yeah, our survey agency has a great system. I always have to look at what it stands for: Enhanced Information Dissemination and Collection System, EIDC. And they just, I'll send them something and say, can you send this out? And they immediately just send it out. It's all an electronic system. So providers just, log into the system, or they get an alert that there's something there. So all the guidance and everything, it just goes out in real time. So it's really helpful.
Yeah, that would be very helpful.
Our two licensing agencies.
Yeah, we have a Gov delivery in Wisconsin too. That's helpful.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Both.
Joe.
okay. Both of our licensing agencies, at our request, sent out provider information notices to all the residential care communities and all facility letters to all of the nursing homes, reminding them of their responsibilities to help facilitate voting for residents. So I was really encouraged by that. This is before the letter from Administrator Berman.
Mhm.
Our
Have-
survey agency, when I requested that they do so, they stated that they mentioned it in a joint training with some facilities, but would not send it out. Lovely.
And I don't understand why CMS didn't tell the survey agencies send this out.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Because, I mean, the survey, they have this electronic system for survey reports and, other stuff that they do. I mean, all facilities have to have the system to be able to submit their plans of correction and all that. So, and MDS. And so it's like no effort. So I don't know why CMS didn't just tell the survey agencies, make sure your providers get this. Because if they rely on associations, not all facilities are part of an association. So
That's
we
true.
wouldn't go to everyone.
well, what I thought was unusual too, I don't mean to go down this rabbit hole, but my inbox is constantly flooded with messages from CMS about this or that or something else. And I don't remember seeing anything from them about this letter. It just quietly got posted on their website, and that was it.
Mhm.
If it wasn't for Mark, I wouldn't have seen it.
Yeah,
I
same here.
wouldn't either.
It was so poorly handled. I mean, the first time it came out, you couldn't even tell that it really came from CMS. It wasn't on letterhead or anything.
Right.
So poorly handled.
Mhm.
It's like it got leaked or something. I mean, it's very, very strange.
And you would have thought the regional CMS coordinators would have reached out to us and said, hey, state ombudsman, here is a great letter. Make sure it gets out. I don't think they even knew that it was coming out. So that, it's
Right.
just the communication is sad, especially for our poor residents. I mean, they are so isolated, and this is a great opportunity to let them know, hey, you can vote.
That's the kind of thing I'm sure Consumer Voice must already have a list started for our next president and the next administrator of CMS, these transitions are so important. And when there is a transition and, who knows, let's say there's a new ACL administrator, I don't know. NASOP will send a letter to say, these are our priorities as ombudsman, as we're provided for in the Older Americans Act. This is what we do. These are our priorities for this administration. And, we should do the same for CMS and, let them know these kinds of things are problems that need to be fixed.
Absolutely.
And if we have the same president, it's still an opportunity to say to them, you have a new 4-year opportunity to do right by residents, and we should treat it the same.
Very good point.
Anything we can help with?
Anybody having any issues with any of their local folks and pushback? Anyone have any issues with supervisors above you that are asking you to do things that you don't feel comfortable doing? Anybody have any questions about?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I do.
Yeah, I didn't know. You guys that are mentors, I am not talking to you.
Can you fix us? Can you fix my state?
Yeah, really.
guys do that? Do you guys fix states?
No,
Please?
I'm saying that they would give you advice if you had a question like that.
Ah,
Well, I can learn from others' experiences. I'm teachable.
Yeah, so am I. I learn something on every one of the Tuesday calls.
That's just it. In this job, you're constantly learning new things, situations that come up that you
Yeah.
never even countenanced.
Yeah.
mhm.
Plus just those calls, I feel emboldened, I hear what other states are doing and think, why am I not doing that? And it's helpful, I think.
And I think I admire your courage coming in, as new state ombudsman during COVID. I mean, it's, for us who have been here years, it's very different. So I admire you. I just stick with it, and we're here to help you because these are such unique days, and who would have ever thought? So, we're here to help in any way that we can.
Am I the only new one? New,
No.
No,
This is Amanda.
okay.
in
All
fact,
right.
Amanda.
let's just right now while you guys are here, Lynn, introduce yourself and how long you've been there.
I'm Lynn from Indiana, and I'm 18 months.
Michael?
I'm Mike from Florida. I've been as a state ombudsman since August, but I have been in the ombudsman program for 15 years.
Not going to introduce you guys. Carolyn?
Hi, I'm Carolyn. 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Oh,
Amanda?
Good timing.
I'm from Idaho, and I have been in now for a year. And I gotta tell you, I don't know what normal looks like because I haven't been in long enough to
Right.
get a picture of that. This is the only thing I know. So, we just do what we know. I'm kind of worried about when it goes back to normal, what I don't know.
That's a very
Right.
good point. We may want to give some thought to.
Yeah.
to-
Yeah, we have,
Kelly, how long?
when we're training our new ombudsman, my staff will say, well, the way we used to do it. And I said, it doesn't really matter to them the way we used to do it. You need to say, this is how things are working now. And when the time comes, we will help you transition into what it's going to be in the future. Because none of us really know for sure how it's going to go.
Kelly, how long you been around?
Who?
Kelly? If you're talking, you're muted. So Kelly is from Illinois, and I think it's been 2 years.
Can you all hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know how to. I have been trying to talk for a while. And I can't figure out the video, so I'm in the office today, so I don't know what's going on. I'm not using my regular laptop, but yes, I've been here for as a state ombudsman for 15 months. I do have a question, 2 questions. The first is, I'm being asked by our director if we collect information on residents age that are under 60, that are disabled, or those that are over 60. And I told her that we see all residents, so we don't generally track that type of information. And she was wondering if that's something that ACL typically would ask us for. And I told her, no, I didn't believe that was the case. But I wanted to just pose this question to see if anybody else is tracking that information.
We do in Ohio. We collect demographics. If somebody, if we can't get it, we can't get it. It's not a big deal, but we do ask our regional programs. It helps with funding. It helps with other, access issues. We may be more likely to work with our protection and advocacy for somebody under 60 because it's more likely that they have more severe physical disabilities if they're in a long-term care facility. So it's helpful for us to know. And again, it's good for advocacy, I think, systems advocacy and funding.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Kelly,
We
one of the things,
captured, but what I was going to say, we captured in on our cases the date of birth, but we don't track that information throughout our system.
the Older Americans Act in 2016, I think it was, added the language that the long-term care ombudsman program responded to complaints of any age. They took out the over 60. So it's possible that someone's not looking at the latest version of the Older Americans Act, but because at one point it did say, over the age of 60, and programs they were kind of told, well, they weren't kind of, ACL told us, if you're working with someone under 60, because whatever the issue is would help the other residents who are over 60, then it's okay. But the Congress finally took out the language, making it very clear that it doesn't matter how old a person is, we provide the same exact services.
Okay, that's helpful. That's what I thought. I just wanted to poll some others to make sure that I'm making it make sense.
Sure. Well, I think that's where it's important that, you guys are asked by ACL to keep the NORS statistics, but there are many reasons to keep other data. Joe, I imagine you and Bev and Heather, probably all three of you, collect information that is not reported to in NORS because of either funding or some other reason that you want to know something.
Right. I mean, we have some, state mandated responsibilities that we track separately that don't get reported to AOA.
Kelly, did you have another question?
Oh, I think you asked the question about any pushback, and I was just going to make a comment that there is one program. I haven't spoken to them in a couple of weeks. We have issued guidance about 3 weeks ago, letting the ombudsman know that they can start going back into the facilities, and one program in particular has significant reservations about doing so, and I haven't talked to the provider or the AAA about it yet. And so I just wanted to put that out there and see if anybody had any advice or anything. But I mean, and they are so concerned that they weren't willing to do window visits just recently because they found out that the facility that one of the ombudsmen had gone to did not disclose to them that someone had just recently tested positive. So the program is like, we don't want to do any visits, window visits, outdoor visits, in-person, face-to-face visits, which made no sense to me.
This is Amanda. I have that in my state also. I don't have very many. They're authorized to go into facilities right now, but Idaho has really increased in the number of COVID cases. We're at our highest that we've been through this whole period of time. And I have very few that are going into facilities right now, even though they've been authorized to go in. And I have not made that mandatory. I've made it that you have to discern whether or not they're at high risk to go into facilities. So I'm open for suggestions too.
Same way here in Indiana. I have two ombudsmen who they were gung-ho, and now they just kind of backed off because our cases are just increasing more and more daily.
This is if I can ask, would be a good topic for next Tuesday's call. Those of you that are mentors, if you could be thinking, and the rest of you, because I've heard this from other programs, and I think that we just need to maybe all put our heads together. We need to end this call. I'm so sorry. Hi, Amity.
Hi, sorry. I need the line for another call, but I do want to, and Carol, just because I was going to forget what you said about starting this conversation next Tuesday. I do think that that's a valid concern when community spread is increasing. That may mean that you dial down the visits, especially if you've started them, or maybe not start them when you're planning them. So I do think their flexibility is going to be necessary going forward. Although I hate to see the hesitancy, especially because they were excited. And I know that's hard to get them on board, but I'd like to talk about it further next week. So sorry to cut y'all short.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Right.